Hi there, I'm Angela St. Julian, founder and publisher of Brand Bar's Happy Hour Chats. So, I have a surprise for you. In honor of Mother's Day on Sunday, this week I will have a spotlight interview of a domain industry mother each day this week up until Mother's Day. So, this is a great opportunity to get to know some of the women in our space and some of the time that they dedicate to their families as well as their craft or their career in the domain space. Stick around, learn more about us, but first, let's hear from our sponsors.
Secure your funds, keep your merchandise safe, and use a company that keeps both the buyer and seller protected the whole way through. That's escrow.com. Payments you can trust.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibit, or sponsorship opportunities at the 2017 NamesCon show, you can track the team down at World Hosting Days USA this month. They'll be there starting Tuesday, May 24th. Welcome everyone to this special edition of Brand Bar's Happy Hour Chat, and that is the Mother's Day edition. This is day 2, and I am on with Team Igloo. Let me introduce them. First, we'll start with the co-founder and CEO, and that is Miss Tessa Holcomb. And then we have Miss Amanda Waltz, VP of Sales and Acquisition. Hey there, Amanda.
Hi there.
And then we have Miss Gina Aubrey, the Sales and Operations Manager over at Igloo. Hey there, Gina. And
Hi.
Today we have a very special mother and birthday girl, Jen Marchese. And I want to just say, Jen, and Jen is also the marketing director over at Igloo. But before we jump into questions, I want to say happy birthday, Jen. I hope, and I lost your sound. Oh, there you go.
Thanks.
So I hope you have a great day. And I'm thinking, what better way to start it off than us maybe singing happy birthday to the birthday girl. You guys up for that?
Is Jen up for that?
Jen.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
And you're like on the hot seat too while we sing it. Okay,
But
here we
hey,
go.
I don't have to sing. As long as I don't have to sing, we're good.
So here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jen. Happy birthday to you. See, that worked out really well. That came in like counterpoint since we have like the little delay from the internet. Perfect. And then we didn't hear you.
Your fans out there were also singing.
Okay, there we go. And they probably did. They probably got into it.
Me?
So, Tessa, I put you back on the hot seat. I don't know why anyone ever calls it hot seat anyway, but since that's the term that they use, you're back on the big screen. I like to say big screen. So let's start with you, and then how we can do this is since we have a group, chat going today, we can all just, we can all answer the same questions if we'd like, or follow up or add something to it if we'd like. And sometimes I'll just pick someone else to ask a general question.
Okay.
So, Tessa, starting with you, can you tell us about your company and your role in it?
Okay. Well, Igloo is a premium domain brokerage firm. We specialize in selling high-end domain names. Our average sale price is about $240,000. We help companies. We started out as domain advisors back in October of 2010. And as a result of what I felt was a need for more of a consultancy role company in the industry, I always had a lot of people asking me questions of what I did, and the way I explained it was you have a financial advisor. When you have a realtor, you have someone to advise you on how to sell your house. And why not have a domain advisor to advise you on what to do with your domain names? So we started out really working with people on their domain portfolios, looking at them and giving them advice as to what they should monetize and how, what they should consider selling, what they should hold on to, maybe other names that they should acquire that would complement their portfolios. And what we saw at that time was that most people really wanted to sell what they had. So we started really focusing. We knew really what takes the most time is making phone calls and calling into companies and educating end users, and really convincing them why it's important and adds value to them to really spend the money on a premium domain name. So that was really the focus in the first few years. We had a lot of very large sales into the 7 figures, and that was our main focus. Then things started flipping a little bit, and I think the people that we sold to started maybe talking to others, and we started attending more events in the startup community and really working with VCs, and things switched a little bit. So the tables flipped, and we had more people coming to us to acquire these larger names. And at first we were like, this is great. It's easy to, acquire a name versus selling it. But we found out that it's sometimes can be very difficult. And usually they come to us because they've already spent a lot of time trying to acquire it already.
Right.
By a lot of ways. So when we would go to the buyer or the owner of the name, we would find out that some people, they've already been contacted by several different ways. And so we would really have to then educate the buyers, really. So educate them as to the right way to acquire a name, making sure that they're coming in with the right price. Even just the wording, everything was very different as to how you would successfully acquire a name. So this is kind of what we saw. And when we worked with these buyers, we would also, we found that a lot of these VCs and startups wanted to acquire one-word premium domain names. And because we were really focusing on buying these one-word premium domain names, we decided to practice what we preached and rebrand. So we did that in May of 2013. And because we were helping people find their cool, igloo.com seemed like and primarily .coms, igloo.com really fit that whole genre of what kind of the change that we were going through. And that's how we came to be igloo.com.
That is perfect. And I should say this too. I love that tagline, find your cool. I think of that even when I'm hanging out with my family, like we're finding our cool right now. I should be wearing my igloo t-shirt right now. By the way.
Like when we say it to people are like, oh, that's cool. I mean, without even realizing it. So
yeah. Well, I have wondered for a while, like I've seen you guys come to conferences. I've even had Amanda on a show previously, and you have a lot of moms on your team. Was that something that was your plan? Did you plan to bring in moms or women who may have some extra time on their hands or who wanted a career change?
I did. Actually, yes. I was on the Kilimanjaro climb with Greg McNair, who is a co-founder as well, and originally invested in starting this company. And when you're climbing that mountain, you have a lot of free time to talk about things. And he asked me what my goals were, what my background was. And I was just talking to him about my opinion that moms, a lot of moms that I knew were really an untapped resource. So many of us love what we do. We love being moms. Bottom, that's always number one. But we also loved having a career. And most of us, well, everybody did at one point. When we first started college, you have all these big aspirations. Yeah. And then when you have your first child, you realize, do I want to spend time commuting and being in an office? I've already gotten the chit chat out of the way. That's not as important to me. I don't need to hang around the water cooler, go out to long lunches. Those are things that we all really enjoy doing in our first jobs, second jobs, or whatever, when you're in an office. But as a mom, you learn how to be super efficient, you're motivated, you can multitask, you're still smart, you haven't lost most of your brain cells at that point. And but if I'm going to work and dedicate my time, which is usually significantly more, I'm sure, for all of us than 8 hours a day, do I want to spend any extra time I have with my kids, or do I want to spend it commuting? I mean, people that are working, you're spending usually on average probably about an hour each way when it comes down to it. More for some people, maybe a little less for some people. Then there's lunch. People go out to these lunches, and I know that's what a lot of people do. So that's 3 hours. I mean, if you really think about it, that's a big chunk of time, and that's minimum. It used to be, when I lived in the Boston area, it would sometimes take me 2 hours plus to get into the office. So, I mean, it's just, if I can be home and have that extra time, I'm going to be that much more efficient with my time that I am working. So I was explaining this to Greg, and he was really on board. And he said, do you know moms like this? And I said, I do. I know several moms like this, and 2 of them are on this call right now. And we sat down in my kitchen, and that's how Domain Advisors was born.
That is great. So, do all of you work from home at this point? None of you have to do a large commute anymore, any type of commute anymore?
No. I mean, we just spend that time traveling to conferences. And
Yes.
From the bedroom to the office.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. Which I know that because I get up, I take the kids to school, and I come right back to my house to this office. So, how long? Like, let me pull someone else up here. No one's gonna raise their hand, right? So I'll just pluck someone. Here we go. So Gina, so tell me, what made a career in the domain industry attractive to you?
Well, to be honest, my previous professional experience had nothing to do with the domain industry, but after having had a conversation with Tessa about her work in the domain industry and her exciting idea for Domain Advisors at the time, I was one of the people sitting around her kitchen table when Domain Advisors first was started. She really excited me about the opportunity, not only to be part of a company that was in its very beginning stages and the potential that it had, but also the idea of helping companies to brand or to utilize different marketing techniques through domain ownership was something I had never thought about previously, but was something that excited me to be a part of and to get into.
Yeah, because
quite honest.
I'm sure to you, it being so new, you see the challenge in it. And that's one thing we moms don't lack. And we love challenges. We're okay with that. We're comfortable with that. Every day is a challenge, or every day there is a challenge that's presented. So why not? Why not just jump in with both feet, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, now you're on board, a really great team. Let's find out. So, does your career have any built-in benefits to your main role as mom, other than the fact that you get to spend more time with them because you're right there at home?
Sure. My particular position offers a good amount of flexibility, to be honest. Part of my role on the team is to manage the marketplace and the marketplace sales and to manage the customer service. But I also have a technical aspect of my position, which is to manage the website and work on improvements for the website. And the people on our technical team are located all over the world. Some of them are waking up as I'm going to bed, so to speak. So I can also speak with them and have meetings with them in the evening time, maybe after I put my children to bed, and utilize a couple of free hours at that point. So working on projects at different times of the day make it so that I have a little bit of flexibility with my children on the days that there might be other things going on. I definitely feel as though, we're great multitaskers. So I catch Amanda, if I send her a quick text, I know that, she's just getting ready to end her day, and we can kind of take things back up the next morning or things like that. So I definitely think that, when we're working with people in different time zones and we're working from home, we have a certain amount of flexibility that offers us the opportunity to be more efficient than we would be if we were in an office for a particular amount of time.
I totally agree with you on that. I have a little interview that I'm going to do this evening, probably around 9:30 or 10. And that's because the other mother I'm going to be interviewing is all the way in Australia. To me, that is exciting because there's nothing keeping us from communicating. Sure, it's at 9:30, 10 o'clock, but my babies are in bed. So they're not going to be video bombing me while I'm trying to do this. So it works. We still had our evening together and they're in bed. We still got to spend quality time, got to sit down to dinner, got to do our homework, and I can still get back on and do my job and be comfortable that I did not, take something away from that family time. So,
Sure.
Jen, let me ask you something. Does your children know and understand what it
Okay.
is you do from home?
Now they do. This was something they had no clue. It was just mommy does marketing. They didn't. I was doing freelancing for a while, and that's all they knew. Um, but my husband told me the other day, and he was driving home with the girls, that they saw a web address on the side of a van, and I don't remember what it was, but it had it wasn't easy to pronounce. There was too many S's in it. Well, the first thing is my daughter Anya turned to the rest of people in the car and said they didn't know they could go and get their exact.com. And I was like, oh, okay, so she knows all about .com. And then she also knew all about marketing, where you need to know, it needs to be easy to remember and short, or the person driving by is not going to be able to take that away and go home and type it in. And she was explaining that to the people in the car. And I thought, wow, I guess through osmosis, plus this was something I didn't do previously. I knew a little bit about it because I worked in branding and marketing, but it's interesting. And I talk to my kids about it because when they come home from school, if I'm sitting in my office or if I'm out in the dining room working, they see that and they always ask what's going on. And they're 13, so they have a little bit better of comprehension about it, but they find it fascinating. And they always ask, what's the hot name? And let's say we're working on client.com or tortillas.com or something, they will sit there and say, ooh, what would I do with that? What would be the best type of company? Let me think if I can help you. And I'll take it. I'll take their free help.
And children are amazing. They bring a certain, perspective to the table that most of the time we haven't thought of. So they have these young, fresh minds. And you being mother, you're not exactly their teacher outside of the house. They have a formal teacher, but you're their teacher inside, and they're learning something from you that they're going to probably take with them the rest of their lives. Those marketing skills, what they're thinking when they see these names. And who knows, they might apply it already, excuse me, to the way they even do their homework or the way they interact with their friends. So that's really cool that you got to overhear that, or you got to see, that they get it. They get a little bit of what you
But
do.
they also bring something to me. They're 13. I could not possibly know what's going on in the mind of 13-year-olds. Mm-hmm. However, kids are, so many companies, they need to market to kids. They need to market to this age grade, and they will give things to me that I wouldn't have even thought of. We were doing TVD.com, and immediately my one daughter was like, oh, Vampire Diaries. I didn't know that.
Whoa, it's right off the top of her head.
It's a different age, and you wouldn't get that in a traditional office.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't bring it home to your kids necessarily, because when I didn't work in the office, when I worked outside of home, I wouldn't talk about that. When I was home, I'm home. I don't want to talk about work. When your work and your home is in the same place, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. This is a good thing. It really helps because it's right there, and you can use the youth.
Yeah. So Amanda, let's pull you up to the big screen here. How does your role as a mother benefit you in your professional role?
That's a good question. I think, it's been said many times that if you want something done and done well, give it to a busy mother. I would definitely say that I am on the busy side, on the mother scale, and then also on the professional scale. So, Tessa was talking before about going to conferences. We do a lot of that, a lot more so in, I would say, even the past 18 months than we've done previously, and a lot of different kinds of conferences, whether it's startups or if we're selling a particular domain name into a specific vertical market, attending those type of conferences as well. And I just think that we're constantly juggling. I think that moms in general are great jugglers, and I would definitely put myself and all of us into that category.
Oh, yeah.
I can take calls from the car. I can answer emails on the fly. I just think that you have to have a lot of versatility in many different roles. And this particular role for me lends itself very well to being able to multitask.
Yeah. And your role as a mother helps you pack when you go on these conferences. You're like rolling it up. You can get it done in 2 seconds, I'm sure.
Well, sometimes all you have is 2 seconds. So,
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like rolling up my t-shirts. My husband's like, why would you do, hey, I'm fitting everything I can in this one suitcase. The airline charges too much for your bags. You can get it all in there.
This is true.
So here's a pretty serious question, but I think would be so helpful for any other moms who may be listening or watching later. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the road so each of you has the opportunity to answer this one. And I'll start with you, Tessa, back to the big screen. What advice would you give another mother, or even I'll say a single father who's trying to or who's thinking about or interested in jumping into the domain space?
Well, as far as advice, I think it really depends on what area of the domain space they're looking into. There's still a lot of great investment opportunities with all of the new GTLDs. I think those are definitely more of a long-term investment. Maybe next 5 to 7 years, we'll probably see some great retail opportunities, even though there already have been some, but I think that's where we're really going to start to see the bulk of the adoption and resale in that space. As far as being monetizing domains, there's still, while PPC has gone down and there are less opportunities overall in that space with certain types of domains, if they want to focus on one vertical that they're excited about and, building out a business with a domain, there's those opportunities, which they can also, if you're speaking about primarily working from home opportunities, there's things that they can do on a case-by-case basis with building out. As far as working for a domain brokerage firm, I think, again, it has to be something you're passionate about, that you're excited about, and you have to be self-motivated. And if you are the kind of person that, there are people that definitely have told me that I could never work at home, that they could never work at home. And I don't think it is for everybody. And it's not for all moms or single dads, or dads in general. I think you definitely have to carve out your space and know how to focus. And everybody who is around you, kids or anybody else that's living in your home, needs to understand what you're doing and needs to know that when, my kids know what this means, sometimes a little too much because they need to quietly back out the door.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that uncommon that they do that several times. And then they know, and I go out when I'm off the call and I talk to them, but I think you have to do that as well. So.
Yeah, there is I would agree with you, a certain level of discipline you absolutely have to have in order to work from home, because it's easy to turn around and go right back to bed. It's easy to not get anything done. So let's bring Gina up.
I
don't think you can do that, though, if you're a mom. Can you, Angela? Do you really get to go back to bed?
Hey, there are times when I sneak back to bed. But that better be a very light work day.
After drop off.
Exactly. So let me pull Gina up. Gina, do you have any advice for anyone interested in jumping in?
Sure. I definitely, Tessa brought up a lot of great points. Certainly being committed to joining a new industry is something that anyone who's looking to join the domain industry has to be committed. They have to be focused, and really they have to jump in with both feet and work really hard in the onset. I mean, it's not the easiest industry to just break into, and I think you got to put the time in, you got to put the commitment in, and sometimes it's, in the beginning, it's more than you envisioned, but once you get in and kind of get the momentum going, then following through with your dedication and making sure that you're really committed to taking the time and the space and setting yourself up is going to lead to the most success, in my opinion. You really have to be committed and and start working really hard right off the bat.
Yeah, jump into it, giving it everything you've got. So Amanda?
Same question, I'm assuming?
Yeah, same question. Any advice?
Yeah. I think that you have to not only work hard, I think you have to work smart. I think that there's a lot of opportunities still to be had, but I also think that there is an opportunity to be creative and, to really think for my role, to think both like a buyer and a seller. I mean, after all, as a broker, you're building a bridge. Somebody has something they would like to sell, and there are many potential buyers for any given opportunity, any given domain. There can only be one buyer at one time. So I think that, really thinking about things as creatively as possible lends itself very well to, staying in the industry and then also getting into the industry. I think that there's so much that's changing on a daily basis with all the new GTLDs that you have to constantly keep yourself educated as well. So, there's that whole self-motivation piece comes into play. You can do as little or as much as you want to. I've never found the space to be closed really in any way. It's what you make of it.
That's so true. Jen, the birthday girl?
And yes, I agree with what everybody said, and I think there's flexibility on two ends. I mean, this gives you a lot of freedom to do things. Like you can go to the field hockey game at 4:00. You can make that because you're not bound to an office. However, you don't always work with people in your time zone, and so there will be late nights or early mornings. I know because I'm on the West Coast, I'm starting work at 7 a.m. to deal with East Coast people. And that's okay because, it ends up working out. But you have to have your family be in on that as well. It's like, understand, yes, I can take you to your dance lesson, but I'm going to be on the phone, or I'm going to be on my laptop working. I can't always watch you. And that's something that kids don't always understand. It's like, well, you're kind of here, but you're not 100% here all the time. And I think that's something that you really need to understand and go into it and let everybody else know that too, because it's hard for a lot of people. It's either you're here 100% or you're not here.
Yeah.
And being that 50-50 or 80-20, depending on what the situation is, it's something you need to explain. It's like Tessa said with the hand. It's like, I'm on the phone. It's always me. Like, but at the same time, they need to understand it, but you need to understand it as well, where it is a give and take. And yes, I really wanted to be here, but this important call came in and I'm going to have to go behind the bleachers and get on the phone.
Exactly.
And not I'm really fortunate because I love my Igloo people because they're all moms and they understand. You have a sick kid, they're going to get it, that you're going to be in and out all day. And, they understand when things come up, but not all domain companies are going to be like that. And if you work for yourself, your clients aren't going to always be understanding. So think about where you go as well.
That's right.
I mean, I'm really lucky as a mom because I have other moms. So I think that's pick the right
Well,
place.
this is the Mother's Day, discussion, but we have to end it on something cool. Tessa, didn't something really exciting happen right before we jumped on?
We registered igloo.mom. So we got that lunch today, and we thought it would be fitting, especially for this call and moving forward.
And
Yeah.
how fitting. I mean, look, we're on with you have the best team of moms, to work with. And that
Yeah,
is so exciting. I really hope that we all get to come back and chat again. But in the meantime, thank you all so much because I know we're talking about being busy and having to go from one thing to the next. Thank you so much for jumping on with me this afternoon and having this chat. And I wish you all a very happy Mother's Day. And I hope that there's some really great surprises in store for you all on Sunday.
Thank you.
Hey, you too.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks, Angela. You
you.
too.
Before we continue, let's take a moment to find out what's on the top shelf over at brand.bar. We have resumecube.com. This would be a great brand for any leading resume, job, or recruitment business or website. divelounge.com. Build your new beach or poolside lounge or bar with this highly brandable and easily remembered domain. juicekick.com. Give your new health business, product, or service a kick with this catchy and versatile name. geniuscompany.com. We'll just keep this short and sweet. Only a genius would start their company with such a great brand. wannaextract.com. This would be a perfect brandable name for the marijuana, cannabis, oils, and cosmetics industry. If you'd like more information about the domain shown here, visit us at www.brand.bar. If you'd like to promote your brandable domain name here, send us an email to promote@brand.bar.